scuffle. Take a look at this video. Bears tight end Martellus Bennett gets taken down by rookie Kyle Fuller. Bennett jumps up and then body slams Fuller. The next day, Bears general manager Phil Emery announced the team fined Bennett and suspended him for conduct detrimental to the team.
I play hard. I go hard every single day. I'm probably one of the most violent people on the field. And that's just my style of play. That's how I'm gonna play. I'm gonna continue to play the way I play, and that's what I'm here for. I'm not really here to, everybody talk about friendships. We're really all preparing for a championship. We make friends along the way. That's cool. But at the end of the day, I'm just trying to help the Bears win a championship and do the job to the best of my ability. It's practice. Practice is practice. I know I sound like Allen Iverson right now, but at the end of the day, it's practice. Practice happens, and. You learn from it. That's why you practice. You learn from things that happen in practice. Everything's not perfect. No one's perfect out there. So, man, at the end of the day, it's practice. Everyone's just working.
That was Bennett before he knew he was suspended. The GM says it's for an unspecified amount of time. So we're putting you guys on the hook. You first, Skip. Whose side are you on?
Stephen A. Smith, I am completely and utterly on Martellus Bennett's side. This story knocked me over when I read it and then heard it on SportsCenter. This is man bites dog. This is, from me, a guy who's covered training camps dating back to Don Shula's Dolphins, Chuck Knox's L.A. Rams, to the Cowboys of Tom Landry and Jimmy Johnson, Dave Wannstedt's Bears, Steve Mariucci's 49ers. I've spent hundreds of hours on the sidelines of training camps, and every day I was there, nearly every day, I witnessed at least one fight, if not 3 or 4 fights. And now a player has been suspended for retaliating in a fight. And by the way, people are calling it a body slam. I'm not even sure that qualifies as a body slam.
Full slam.
You're penalizing a player for being aggressive. Yeah. And the great irony here is Martellus is the guy who's always criticized for not being aggressive enough, not practicing hard enough, not being locked in enough in practice, being too lackadaisical and unfocused in practice. And he finally shows some aggression, and he gets suspended for it. And I understand Mark Trestman's mantra in training camp practices is, if you fight in camp practice, it will translate into undisciplined play on the football field. Never heard that from a head coach, and I respect Mark as an offensive guru, and I think he's going to do good to great things with Jay Cutler this year. But this is, as Herm says, tackle football. I want to see a little spark from Martellus Bennett, and you're telling me a sign of life from Martellus got him indefinitely suspended?
Yeah.
Explain, please?
Well, I can't explain it. What I will tell you is I apologize for not having the information in front of me, because I wanted to know where the Chicago Bears ranked in penalties last year, because that could be a telling reason as to why Trestman is really honed in on their conduct in practice.
Deontay, look it up.
Because you might find yourself in a situation where you want to guard against it. So that would make sense. What I would say to you is that I tend to agree with you, Skip, because it comes across as a bit soft. This is the NFL. It is football. It is training camp. As Golick explained weeks ago when he was talking to Greeny, he was like, look, man, we didn't want to be out there. Training camp's the worst. He said, you ready? Yeah, it's hot, it's muggy, you're tired, you don't want to work out of it. All right. Thank you, Kerry. 25th fewest in the NFL.
25th fewest
in the league.
25th fewest in the league. So really, that knocks down that argument about Trestman. But what I will say to you is this. It's important, while I tend to agree with you, and I think that this is much ado about nothing, and the Chicago Bears have some nerves coming across as this soft. Let them go at it together. Let them be physical. As long as they don't really hurt anybody, because you need those bodies out on the field. Martellus Bennett has to be careful. Your best season was last year, over 750 yards receiving, 65 receptions for the Chicago Bears. The year before that, you had over 600 yards catching as a tight end for the New York Giants. Prior to that, your first 4 years were in Dallas. You were essentially a bench warmer. Yep. Now, regardless of the talent that you may possess, and you may be perceived as being better than Jason Witten, the reality of the situation is that you were not getting any time. You didn't really start having an NFL career until you were with the New York Giants, which was the year before last season. So essentially, your inching or your incremental process towards relevancy kicked in 2 years ago. So basically, you're a novice. 2 years in the NFL, this is who you are. And I'm not questioning Martellus Bennett's talent at all. Remember, I like the kid.
You do.
I think he can ball, okay? And I love seeing him as a tight end for the Chicago Bears, just like I love seeing him for the tight end for the New York Giants. But you've got to be careful when your reputation is that of an individual who is lackadaisical in practice, doesn't go all out, doesn't give full-fledged effort. Just because he got into a fight with somebody, Skip, doesn't mean he was working hard prior to that snap, prior to that incident.
I agree with that.
And so if that's the reality, and they're indicating that that is a cause for the suspension,
it's
coupled with it. If that's part of it, Martellus Bennett has a problem. Because if the NFL can do without marquee stars, it can certainly do without you. And we know how NFL locker rooms are. We know how teams are. They are much more strident and much more rigid when it comes to behavior and how they believe it will impact a locker room. Martellus Bennett, I'm warning you. Be careful, because this is step one towards them pushing you out the door, and ultimately you finding it very difficult to find a job in the future.
Okay, and tellingly, to your point, every teammate was against him. Nobody rushed to his defense. They were all on Trestman's side. They were all on Kyle Fuller's side, the rookie he went after, the kid from Virginia Tech who was drafted in the first round. But was it yesterday I sat back listening to Jerry Jones rave about that kid J.J. Wilcox for the Cowboys, who got into it with Dez Bryant on the practice field, and Jerry was raving. Those are the quickest fists I've ever seen in a campfire. And Jerry loved it, but most coaches love it.
They like it.
But which is why I raise the red flag and say we have to monitor Martellus Bennett, because this is something coaches usually love and players usually love. Why are they all hating on you, Martellus?
Okay.
That doesn't make sense.
The first time ever, I must admit, I felt a little sorry for Martellus.
Okay.
It just felt wrong to me.
Yeah, he's got to be careful, though.
I read in the Chicago Tribune that Brandon Marshall, one of his closest friends, also not on his side during that fight, and it got really uncomfortable. We will see what happens.